The new NASA. How America gets people and stuff into orbit is about to be outsourced in an out-of-this-world way. With the Space Shuttle's retirement Thursday, no longer will flying people and cargo up to the International Space Station be a government program where costs balloon. NASA is turning to private industry with fixed prices, contracts, and profit margins. The space agency will be the customer, not the boss. At least when it comes to the routine part of going to and from the space station, NASA hopes to rely on companies that will be the space version of FedEx and Yellow Cab. The company that has been leading the commercial space race is hoping to launch its privately built rocket and capsule to the space station later this year. It won't carry astronauts, but if all goes well, the unmanned ship will dock with the station and deliver food, water, and clothing. And its major private cargo competitor may only be a month or two on its heels. Getting people to orbit on a new American ship is a different story. Some ambitious companies hope to launch astronauts that way in 3 years, maybe 4. Until then, the Russians will fly astronauts on a pay-for-play basis. Some space veterans, like John Glenn, the first American in orbit, think 5 to 10 years is more realistic. But 2 of the major players have surprised people before, the tech tycoons who founded PayPal and Amazon. NASA has hired 2 companies, Space Exploration Technologies Corporation of Hawthorne, California, and Orbital Sciences of Dulles, Virginia, to deliver 40 tons of space supplies to the space station in 20 flights. The cost is $3.5 billion, about the same price per pound as it was during the Space Shuttle's 30-year history. It's time. Once NASA blazes the trail, creates the technology, and it's available for private companies to take advantage of, this is the time for the private firms to take over, said NASA Commercial Cargo Chief Alan Lindenmoyer. NASA met on Wednesday with companies wanting to taxi astronauts to the station. The agency hopes the money it saves by not flying the shuttle can be spent on new deep space missions that will send astronauts to an asteroid and on to Mars. 6 private companies are working with NASA to send ships to the space station, either unmanned cargo ships or eventually astronauts in new capsules. For well more than a decade, boosters of commercial space have said they are ready to take over the job of going into low Earth orbit on their own non-government ships, but hadn't done it. No one has. Now one has. Space Exploration Technologies, which often goes by the name SpaceX, is run by risk-embracing PayPal founder Elon Musk, launched his unmanned Dragon capsule into orbit last December. Now his company is lining up for the first private visit to the space station. The lower and upper stages of the rocket are at Cape Canaveral, Florida. The capsule is almost finished. What we want to do is get back into space as quickly as possible and as sustainably as possible, said former astronaut Garrett Reisman, who now runs SpaceX's Dragon Rider program. And maybe a month or 2 later, Orbital hopes to have its first test flight to the station. First, it has to finish building its launch site at Wallops Island, Virginia, which should be done in just a few weeks. Then, later this year, it will have a test launch of a new rocket, the Taurus II, and finally it will use the new rocket to launch its capsule, Cygnus, to the space station, and company spokesman Baron Benesky.